Hello, 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 hello. Thank you all so much for those of you that are watching, those of you that are about to get on. I really appreciate it. Happy 4th. And my name is Nama Uzazie. I am the host of You Can Stop, Step Up. And I'm very, very excited to bring this show to each and every one of you. As they always say, no man is an island. So instead of me having this conversation by myself, I have amazing guests. And with no further ado, I'm going to introduce all my guests right now and bring them on so that we can start this conversation. So my first guest is Chica. Chica, welcome to the show. Woo!
Hi, everybody. I'm Chica. Can everybody see and hear me? Awesome.
Beautiful, beautiful. My next guest is Wanjal. Welcome to the show, Wanjal. Thank you so much.
Woo!
Yay! Thank you
Hey
so
everyone,
much.
My name is Wanjal.
Beautiful, beautiful. My next guest is Semo. Semo, welcome to the show.
Peace, bowing to the dominant and abundant love, all praise the bound of the glory of the Most High. My name is Samu. Thank you so much, Miss Noma.
Of course, anytime. And my last guest today on the show is Kyle. Kyle, welcome to the show. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I want to thank each and every one of you for saying yes. I know that today is July 4th and you could be doing something else, but you decided to be on my show, and I really, really appreciate it. I think that is, that is very commendable. Thank you so much. So with no further ado, we're going to dive right into this show. I'm excited. I hope you guys are.
Definitely.
Of course. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. I'm glad. So let's dive right in. Before we even start talking about anything, I want each and every one of you to introduce yourself. Just a quick introduction about yourself so that our listeners and our audience, they know the guests that are going to be that are on the show. And then we will dive right into the show. So I'm going to go ahead and start with Chica, because she's the first person I see on my screen.
Hi, everybody. I'm Chica. I'm a public speaker, woman of color champion, and self-love advocate. So I speak on all topics to help women empowerment and help people build confidence and self-love, specifically focused on women of color. And you guys can follow me on Instagram at ᴇᴜᴜᴜ825. ᴇᴜᴜᴜᴜ825. Follow me on Instagram and sign up for my newsletter. So lots more content coming soon.
My next guest that I'm going to be having to introduce themselves is Wanjal. Go ahead, take it away.
Everyone, again, my name is Wanja Harvey Well, I'm sorry, I'm married now. Wanja Bernice Browning. I am the founder and CEO of the Freedom Child Foundation, which is a foundation that is created to make sure that kids who have incarcerated parents can always stay in contact with their parents. So the foundation is aiming to be able to supply funds so that they can afford the phone calls and go to visitation, as well as stationary, so that they can always have the means to stay in contact with their parents. I am an advocate for prison reform. I'm an advocate for the Phone Justice Project, which is basically a project who desires to bring down all of the predatory rates from prison phone calls to make sure that it is affordable for families. So, yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. My next guest today is Kyle. Kyle, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Carl. I'm actually a photographer and / life coach. Me and my wife have a company. It's biology.com, where we actually do life and relationship coaching, to help different people doing different things. You're going through different things in life. So we kind of give you a little edge on, help you get through different things. You can follow us on Instagram at loveology for you. You can follow me at _photography.
I don't know. Yeah, okay. Beautiful. My last guest today is going to be ᴅᴜ. ᴅᴜ, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Ms. Noma, thanks so much for letting me on your platform. My name is ᴅᴜ. I'm from East Africa of the Buganda tribe. I was raised in New York. I am a cardiology major, ultrasound tech. I'm also a songwriter, musician. I also have a couple of other things that I do in terms of website design. I'm a host of the show Weathering Storms on Radio Republic and Spotify. You can catch me on Instagram at Samu Christ. That's SEMU Christ. And my website is banditmusica.com.
I love it. I mean, again, I just have to thank you all. I love the introduction. It was brief, sweet, and straight to the point. So let's dive right in, right? Shall we? Shall we, guys? Let's go. Okay. So my first question today, before I ask that first question, I really just want to put things in perspective and see if we agree, right? So I mean, the two commandments, or the basic of the 10 commandments, right, is love your God and love your neighbor, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And we can agree that God created everyone in his image and likeness, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. So now the first question is, are there human races? That's my first question, right? And I know, like, it might sound a little confusing. Human races, RACES, not human race, human races. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go around the screen and I'm going to let each and every one of you get your take or have a chance to answer this question. And then I have my follow-up. So I'm going to start first with Chika.
Sure. You know, that's a really interesting question. And something I've always believed and heard and believe is that, you know, race is a social construct in that which means in a way it's not real. So like, you know, even though I say I'm Black, what is it exactly that makes me Black? Is it the color of my skin? There are several very fair-skinned people who are considered Black. Is it the texture of my hair? As we know, Black people have various textures of hair. We have, you know, different noses, different body types. No, you can't scientifically point to any particular gene or characteristic that is owned by any single, you know, race. So I do believe it's a social construct. It's not real. However, it's the realest, not real thing, because, you know, though we can't definitively point to this is what makes you Black, this is what makes you white, this is what makes you Asian, the perception of race leads to very real outcomes, leads to extremely real outcomes. It leads to inequalities. So even though, you know, it's really something that we should think about, and that, you know, race is something that we've created. You know, we are the ones, we as people, for whatever reason, feel the need to define folks as Black, white, Asian. And there's nothing wrong with describing people in different ways. The issue comes when you give certain values to these different subcategories, and then these different values then lead to unequal outcomes. So yeah, it's a social construct, but it's the realest, not real thing on this planet.
Okay. So if I'm understanding you correctly, you're saying that it is real but unreal at the same time.
It's real and unreal at the same time. You can't scientifically point to anything that can prove that someone is one race versus another.
Okay.
But we know that we know that those that are defined as Black and those that are defined as other races have different outcomes. So we are prescribing meaning to different groups. But if you really pin someone down, they can't definitively tell you what makes someone one race versus another.
Wow, that's very interesting. Okay, so Rangel, why don't you tell us your own point of view for this question? Are there human races?
I feel like there's a human race, right? And just as people, we always want to categorize something. Like when you look at species, then you got to get into, you might have a bunch of frogs, but each frog might be in a different, you know, species or subset or something like that. So I think when we start to look at like the cultural differences, where they are on the planet, how they adapted and things like that, that's when we kind of get into the story of race. But like Chica mentioned, I think the problem is when you try and say that one group is better than the other because of this. If we're all from different places, obviously we are going to adapt differently. Therefore, your resources might not be useful for me, but you can't say because your resources aren't useful in this area that it's better, right? That's just like when we think about evolution or the survival of the fittest. Those animals separated, but how they adapted in their environment because they had to evolve doesn't make them better than the other species. And I think that because humans have mouths and we have feelings and we can detect how we feel, we try and use that and capitalize off of that to make ourselves feel better or to make one group feel better by feeling like this group is better because of this, because they do something like this, when it's just like we're culturally different. Therefore, you can't say what you have is better than what I have because we're from two different places. So that's my take. I don't know if that really answers any questions, but that's what I think about it.
Okay. So if I'm understanding you correctly, you're saying that as human beings, we are different, right? We are always going to be different. That has been to the dawn of man, whatever. Like it's not going to change, right? But it is how we are able to adapt to these differences, or should I say react to these differences, right? That determines, what determines if it's what we're going to do is wrong or is right, correct?
Right. How we classify what's in our bubble compared to what's outside of our bubble.
That makes sense to me. Okay. All right. So the next person is Kyle. Are there human races?
I'm sorry. I kind of miss one. How you say your name? Wangel. I kind of miss her. My screen just froze and it paused and it came back. But I do want to say, yeah, there are different races. Unfortunately, of course, we all are different. But at the same time, we're different. We look different. We're different races. But the problem is everybody puts everybody in a different category. You get what I'm saying? And of course,
okay. I don't know if maybe we'll give him some time and then. Okay, he froze. Okay. I think I'm just gonna go and move on to my next guest. Yeah, I'm gonna move on to Semu. Semu, I want to hear from you. Are there human races?
Oh wait, Semu, you're muted. You are muted.
I'm good now?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, good. I loved how you started the whole show off with a basis that I have on for my life, which is the commandments, and that we should love God and we should love our neighbor.
Correct.
To answer your question, I believe race is a new age construct that takes us away from our identity. Now, those that believe in race, it's a word that you have to agree with. And I think it's just something that's been simplified for us, these new age people, just say, okay, this is the black race. Oh, they're black, they're white. It's just easier, but it's also taken away from our culture and what our ancestors have taught us of who we are. And I think we need to be embracing our culture and the lessons of our ancestors, as well as that which is in the Bible, the word, that will basically bring us back to who our true identity is. So race is just something new that is, I believe, trying to take us away from what our ancestors taught us who we really are, our true identity, and it's too vague, the white race, the black race, and it doesn't have any lineage of tracing back, okay, well, what is this? It's just too easy for whoever created the word race to then manipulate it. And when you go on Google and you put in this, it might not give you the true meaning of what it is, or who you are, Miss Noma, or who you are, Miss Chika, or Miss Wanjel. And so I just think it's taking away from our ethnicity, our culture, things that have more sustenance and that we can really go back and say and research more closely.
That's actually very interesting. I mean, because I've often struggled, like, when they say that they are human races, I'm like, so are you saying that the human race is an oxymoron? Does that even still exist? Because then we're over here saying, well, they're human races. Of course, we have our differences, right? But there is something still called the human race, right? Which is looking at ourselves as one.
Understood. Yes.
Right. So for me, I often struggle like with everything going on and things that are, everything going on, whether it's in different areas or different sectors of life. I often wonder if we are slowly drifting away from the human race and focusing on human races.
I mean, yes, the word definitely has double meanings that are put into our psyche. So you're 100% right, and it's once again whatever we as individuals choose to agree with. If those that find it easier, more comfortable, I think, like Miss Chika said, to say, you know what, well, I feel comfortable with the white race and being under whatever quote unquote privileges that you're under with that. It's just a new age construct that I don't think joins us together and unites us. So, one of the pastors that I listened to, Creflo Dollar, he also said that it's an illusion, it's not real, and that we should all embrace each other as one race, the human race of all hues and the beauty of who we all are. And being in Christ, just to bring it all back full circle to how you started the show, us all being in Christ is gonna unite us.
That's true. Chika, did you want to say something?
Yeah, and I just wanted to piggyback off of what Samu and Wenzel said about how, we're all different. We all are. I do think we are one human race, but we all have, different cultural tendencies. If we, I like what Samu said, how kind of race is a new age construct, because we go back centuries, it was more so tribes and groups and ethnicities, and we had a different cultural practices and languages and dialects. So it is new, this whole idea of like the quote unquote five races of just Black, white, Asian, and Latinx. Like that's new. But I think what was always there were just unique individual differences or just smaller subgroups. There was never really a need to say, well, now all these groups are Black, which, if you think about it, that's almost so crazy when you think about even just on the continent, all the different countries, and even countries also a social construct, right? Because before that, they were just different ethnic groups with different dialects and languages and customs. And so trying to lump people in and group people, that is an outside construct. I think the more authentic, true to oneself is it's more along that kind of individuality of, what is your language, what is your custom, and how do you want to express yourself. I truly do think it's an outside construct to group people.
That is so true. I couldn't agree more, Chika. I always say, like, my platform is to pretty much give hope and also resolution. But for you to be able to give hope and resolution, you have to be able to have a definition around something first, so that we get a clear understanding of what it is that we're talking about and what it is that we're trying to, suggest or give hope to, or suggest a solution, or give a solution to, or come up with a solution for, right? So that brings me to my next question, right? So racism is definitely a bad thing. All the isms at the back of it's just negative, right? So I am curious to know, how can we eradicate that, especially now that you have COVID-19 and police brutality? How can we eradicate it? And I'm just gonna go with Chika again.
Yeah, no, that's a very important question. It's a very hard question, and it's something that I chatted about with my friends and loved ones, and that we, as if we want to define ourselves as Black people, it's like almost preaching to the choir of we're asking ourselves, how can we stop this? But if you think about it, we didn't create racism. It was the white people, whether it was in the U.S., the people in power, whether it's the slave owners and even non-slave owners. There's still this hierarchy where white society was on top. And even not in the U.S., you think about colonialism, those were Western Anglo-Europeans. And so they're the ones that really created racism. They're the ones that kind of created this class system where people of color are at the bottom. And so I almost want to have this conversation with white people to say, hey, you guys created this. How can you dismantle it? What are the different systems and policies that you need to change? So yeah, I almost feel like we need to ask this question for our counterparts.
That is so true. I couldn't agree more. So yeah, I know it's not going to happen tonight. I mean, and it's definitely not going to happen like 2 weeks from now or a month from now, but slowly but surely, things, there are definitely movements and support groups and everything to try to eradicate this thing going on right now. But I'm going to go ahead to Wanja, because I want to hear what Wanja has to say about this question. How do we eradicate racism following this outbreak and also police brutality?
Everything okay. So when Chika, hopefully I'm saying your name right. I hate not saying people's names correctly. But with her saying that's definitely a question that we have to ask our white counterparts. I definitely agree. But even when it comes to just maybe thinking about what we can do in the spaces that we dominate in, or that we are just in, and we feel like our voice is actually mattered, definitely trying to inform people. It can be very frustrating, because it's like, if we're all here in the USA, how can you be blind to these very obvious things? But also just trying to do as much as your patience will allow to bring up these different conversations. I like to definitely talk to kids. I have high hopes that Generation Z is going to look completely different, okay? Because they're all over these things. They're all over reform. They're all over change. They're all over making a difference and making sure that everyone is included. So I have very high hopes in Generation Z, and that we just let people we let people know that it's important to change your mindset about this. It's important to change your mind about how you view people, because before we we went into a diverse setting, there was tribalism. You go to ancient Mesopotamian civilization, you got your different caste systems and class systems. And it's just once we changed that dynamic and we added more people, it's okay, well, who has more resources? They will be the dominant ones. And you repeatedly seen that same group of people being dominant. And so it just is embedded in the culture, in the history that we learn. So I think it's more so about informing people that they need to change their mindsets, how they view people, how they view non-white people when they commit a crime. Because when a white person commits a crime, it's just dang, That sucks. Oh man, I hope he gets the help that he needs. It sucks that he was bullied. There's all these restorative justice methods, these restorative justice thoughts towards those people, as it should be towards anybody. But when you look at how Black people are viewed when they commit crimes, when you look at how Hispanic people are viewed, Asian people are viewed, all those non-white people, they are viewed in a more criminal sense. So once we start changing the mindsets of even ourselves, if we have some type of racist thoughts towards non-Black people as well, just changing our mindset, letting ourselves know, like, these are humans, right? We're put on this earth, we're gonna make mistakes, but we can't categorize one group for making a mistake and harshly criticizing them more than we do another group. So mindset change, constantly having these conversations, which they can be very exhausting, and just feeding the youth, because the youth are the future, and whoever was before us, you know, they just wasn't feeding their kids the good stuff. Like, racism is bad. They kept breathing it in them. So now we're here in the USA doing what it is that we have to do to eradicate the system.
That was a good one. That was a good one. Definitely. I agree with you, Anja. You're very right. Mindset is a big thing. You know, growing up as a kid, my dad always told us, it's all in the mind. Everything is all in the mind. Every single thing. If you want to pass your exam, if you want to, if you want to be successful, if you want to get somewhere, everything starts with mindset. And I couldn't agree more with what you're saying about, like, mindset. Each and every one of us right now on here, if we begin to change our mindset, a lot of things will change for the better, for sure. But before I introduce, before I bring Temo on to tell me his own response to this question, I want to bring back Kyle to the show, because there was a little bit of technical issues, but that's okay. It happened. And I'm happy that he's on again. So I'm gonna go to Samo. So Samo, can you give us your response to how can we eradicate racism following COVID-19 and police brutality?
Add to what Miss Wangel had spoke on about mindset, and also just give appreciation to this platform. You can't stop, step up. Our mindset is all based on the programming in which we seek whatever we seek and put our minds into. So as a collective in the United States and around the world, most of us are seeking the news, and when we seek the news, is giving us a certain programming of how we view the world. And so it's telling us that when you're seeking the news, there's a lot of racism going on. There's a lot of looting going on. But if you walk outside, I believe if we all walk outside, I'm not sure if we're going to see all that, you know. And if people tune into platforms like this, you can't stop, step up, and they're hearing constructive ways of dealing with opposition, they're going to have another take. What they're intaking is going to have them more at peace and able to battle what's going on in the world, or the perceived world. The internet and what we see on TV is a matrix of sorts, of programming, which can, if we allow it to, can make us perceive the world and those around us in a certain way. So it's very good. We have to be sober-minded and make sure that we're paying attention to what we're being fed. Miss Chica, one thing that you said that I was all about that, you know, in terms of, okay, we got to talk to the white people about this. But, you know, the word says we got to seek God first. And so I was working out earlier, just trying to get my mind right for this platform about racism, which is such a big topic that has affected my ancestors, all of our ancestors, and God forbid that it won't affect our kids. But I believe that we don't need to be seeking white folk about, oh, we need to change the laws, because I don't live in their construct, even if it seems like we do. You know, it's all about an agreement that we choose. So I think that we as a collective need to first seek God and seek his word. And once we're all aligned in that, like, now we're all aligned in God's word and what he has, the promise for our lives, then we can be like, all right, we're all aligned. And that is what they're trying to take away by putting in place things like race. Oh, this is the black people. Now we the children of God, you know, we have been given authority. And so once we take that authority and we start moving in a united manner, then we will start to see change. And we're not going to go to the quote unquote oppressor, to the white folk who they're saying he don't got the authority. God has the authority. Katonda has the authority. And that's who we need to be seeking first for change. And like it says, we see God, everything else is going to be added to us. So that's really what I think. You know, I've just been through too much in my life, as I believe all of us have, that we couldn't seek man. You know what I mean? The things that police couldn't even help us with, we had to seek God to really help us through some real trying times in our lives. So I don't think what's going on now is any different. You know, I'm not going to seek Trump, with all due respect, or my mayor or my governor, because I already seen in the past that they don't really have the power that we're trying to put on them, like, oh, change this. Nah, they don't got the power. The Most High has the power for us if we start to seek his word, because that book is thick and it has every answer to whatever problem that we got going on.
Yeah, yes. I mean, yes. So true, so true.
Amen.
I mean, the word is powerful. I couldn't agree more.
Right.
I definitely respect everyone's opinion that you're bringing to the table, but at the same time, I definitely appreciate you, Samu, for what you said about like seeking the word. I have grappled and I have struggled with this whole topic, and like you said, everything that is going on, there is a purpose for why it's going on. There is a time that it's gonna end. There is all those things are all fashioned in that way. So I appreciate your mindset, like what you bring right now, or your response right now to this topic. I really appreciate. I mean, to this question, I really do appreciate it.
Because you know what, Miss Noma, I don't want my kids or y'all kids to be like, let's seek the white man for the answer. That is not what the Most High wants for us. You do what I'm saying? That is not the thing. I want him to be like, nah, I need to seek within the God within me, the Christ in me, to make the change. I just can't have that, keep that cycle continue. We can't.
That's very true. That's very, very true. So, Kara, real quick, so how do we eradicate racism following the outbreak and police brutality?
I definitely agree with Samu and Wenjel. I didn't hear yours, Chica. I'm sorry, because I was trying to log back in. But it definitely starts at home. It starts at home. Whatever your parents teach you, whatever your grandparents teach you, it starts there. So now with the racism should have ended a long time ago. You know what I mean? When slaves was freed, and parents, you know, different generations passed out. This new generation know nothing about racism. If you look back in books, you see little white boys, white girls, black kids playing with each other. They don't know nothing about racism. They start off by just knowing what you're taught. So if you're teaching your kids racism, that's how they know it. That's what they learn. If you're teaching your kids to love everybody, then guess what? They will love everybody. They go out and play with everybody. Do this and do that. But at the same time, when you said when it starts with your mindset, you're right. It's definitely a mindset. It's definitely a mindset. Now, the main thing is we need to go out and vote. We start at home, but if we go out and vote and get the right people in the office, we can change a whole lot. Now, look at it. You took cops, you know, killing somebody. Look at all these protests. There's more white folks out there protesting for us than it is blacks, unfortunately. But at the same time, I guess they're tired of it. And then you got so many different races out here. It's a lot of mixed races, a lot of blacks. There's black and white. A lot of white people that you may think white, but they white and black. They just lighter. You get what I'm saying? So, you know, you never know who is who. Like you can walk out the door and say, "Oh, that's a white person." Nope, she's Russian. Or nope, he's Yugoslav. You never know. But at the same time, we got to come together as people and get the right people in office, not just the president,
not just the Senate, not just your senators. You need everybody. We got to get the right people and know who we're voting for. Now, I truly believe is if you don't go out and vote to help the situation, you don't have nothing to say. You can't say nothing. Just deal with what's going on. But at the same time, that's the only way this brutality stuff gonna stop. If you white and you can't deal with the black neighborhoods, don't patrol the black neighborhoods. Patrol your white neighborhoods. We need people that lives in them neighborhoods or grew up in them neighborhoods to patrol them neighborhoods. That way they know. Now, everybody's not good. Now, everybody's not bad. You get what I'm saying? But at the same time, we all got to come together. That's just bottom line.
Yes, yes. I like what you said, Carl, but there's one thing I wanted to add. I know you said go out and vote, but there are some people that cannot vote. So then, in that situation, what should they do?
Well, true that. Well, yeah, for the ones that can't vote, then, they gotta actually start worrying about what their parents is teaching them. You get what I'm saying? So, because it's a lot of bad seeds out there, whether they black or white. It's a lot of bad seeds out there, but they growing up doing what they were raised seeing and doing. You get what I'm saying? So
Sure.
If your parents out here doing drugs and partying and getting beat up on and everything in the house, and you're growing up and you see that, you think that's normal. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
But if they showing, growing up, you're in a church or you're in a good word and your parents are teaching you this and teaching you that. See, my father wasn't really around. He was in a whole nother state, but my mother raised me. And I can honestly say I'm the youngest of 3. And I can honestly say I'm probably doing better than my sister and brother. I love them dearly. I'm sure they're watching it, but guess what? It is what it is. But she taught me right. She taught me how to teach love my wife, love my kids. You know what I'm saying? She taught me how to teach my kids because guess what? She taught me. So I'm teaching them the way I was grown up. I'm from Detroit, Michigan. So if y'all know about Detroit is a hard town. But, I turned out well. So, but if they can't vote, they gotta, they just gotta find that positive mentor and just stick with it.
You're right. Again, everything still boils down to mindset. It boils down to what it is that you're letting in your home. Everything starts from home, really. Because a kid doesn't come out of their mother's womb be racist, right? It's what they're fed, what they're taught, what they maybe sometimes their experience too, their personal experience, and that can also feed off of what they teach their own kids. Before we move to the next question, Wanjo, did you have a question?
Yeah, I had a statement. So I kind of wanted to tie in what I was saying to what Chika was saying to make sure that what I was saying is clear. So Chika mentioned that we need to basically bring white people to the table when talking about this conversation. And I 100% agree, because when we look at the dynamic of who's actually making the laws, right? Who's actually in charge of making changes to dismantle a system here on Earth, a lot of the times it's white people. There's not a lot of minorities in those spaces. So if we have a bunch of people in those spaces, in authority spaces, with a mindset that has not been changed, that still has their microaggressive behavior, they still have their discriminatory thoughts, their privileged thoughts, then that's still problematic to the people who will be the recipients of those laws or decisions that they're changing. So 100%, white people absolutely need to be at the table. Immigrants who are non-Black, they need to be at the table, because when they come here, they adapt to what society is. And society here in the United States is anti-Black, right? So when they come here, they just go with what's going on to make sure that they stay far away from what looks like Black people stuff. So if we want to move forward as a culture, as a community, we need a diverse table. It can't just be all Black people, because we know from the beginning of time, when you have one table, a bunch of maybe, I don't know, let's say, for example, it's just a bunch of white Christian males. They're going to start putting out laws and stipulations to what they believe in. They're not thinking about the Muslim people. They're not thinking about the people who are part of the LGBTQ plus community. They're not thinking about those people. So those people get left out of the conversation. They're not thinking about the people who are homeless. They aren't thinking about the people who grow up in one-parent homes. So we have to have a diverse table because the world is diverse. While we're here on earth, it is very diverse, and we need to be as inclusive as possible so that we can protect people who are different from us. Because when you make laws and changes that only protect one sector of people, people feel like that is the model. That's the right way to do things because clearly it is a law. So we have to start, like you said, Carl, voting people in who are for the people. Like you said, Chica, making sure that there are white people at the table because at the end of the day, they're the ones with the power in society as of right now. So we definitely have to make sure that while we are on earth, because it just can't be Black people trying to be more like Christ, right? Because there are a lot of white people who consider themselves like Christ, who are still very racist, who still wanted to use the Bible to enslave people. So we have to collectively get on one train, and we can't neglect the parts in the back. We got to make sure that we're reaching back there as best as we can. That was my statement. Kind of long, sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. So I saw you raising your hand. Make it quick so we can move on. But go ahead.
All right. Miss Wanja, I love you. Listen, a well-rounded table of all cultures with females, males, just the most diverse table is needed. But there's an illusion of who has power. And Mr. Carl, I feel you I don't feel you on voting, honestly. The construct is how it is. The government is how it is for the past, I don't know how many years. So I think it's just an illusion of inclusion that is going on. And I mean, it's wishful thinking. It's nice. What we're all saying is the right thing. But when we see that that's not working, we have to start saying who is at the top of what's going on. Is it them? Are we talking to the people that are really creating the change? Nah, we're not. I'm from Uganda, and there's a gentleman, a very polarizing character named Idi Amin. Miss Noma, you might know him. When I was in the States, they talked about Idi Amin like he was this bad dictator. He did a lot of bad things. And anybody as a leader, you're gonna come across people viewing you a lot of different ways. But he took control. There's certain things that we also have to be very militant about. A lot of things don't happen at the round table, if you will. A lot of things happen on the battleground. So I'm presenting myself with different hats, with being Christ-like, but I'm also a knight in the army of the Lord. You see what I'm saying? And a lot of change doesn't take place around that round table. It takes place in the streets, like what they're doing with George Floyd. So I'm just trying to balance out what we're talking about and not just make it so diplomatic, because a lot of things take place on the battleground. That's it.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, wow. So just one thing that I know is we have to start from ourselves, right? So my next question is, what are some things that you have, what are some things that you've done to make things right when you discover that what you say has a racial connotation? And I'm gonna go with Chica first. Sorry, I always keep or Wangel. It doesn't really matter. Wangel, you can start.
Wangel, why don't you go first?
Okay, I don't mind going first. So, I mean, growing up Black, okay, I grew up in a Baptist Muslim family. Okay, my mom was Baptist and my dad was Muslim, so I grew up learning Islam and things like that. Okay, and so my dad didn't really play with racism. Okay, He just didn't. So when we would have these experiences, maybe we were walking together and the cops will pull him over and arrest him and force me to watch it. And he'll come back and say, like, that's what those kind of people are doing. Maybe he was just talking about the cops, because we know that before they were cops, they were slave catchers. Maybe he was talking about white people in general. Not 100% sure, but those kinds of experience have really shaped how I view police officers, and just seeing how they do things here, just in the States with recent news and things like that. And so I've really been trying my best to use grace for them too, right? Not just grace like, oh, it's okay. No. Grace in my thoughts to know that Christ died for them too, not to make it churchy. But grace to know, like, dang, you made a mistake. I'm gonna have to set this boundary, but like, you can get it right at some point. So just unlearning, even unlearning stigmas about myself as a Black woman, that when I'm prepping for a twist out, that my twists aren't ugly and I don't look like a slave or something like that. Just unlearning those negative stigmas, those negative thoughts that I've just been growing up thinking about, like, oh my gosh, I have to make sure my underarms aren't dark because of this, that, and the third. Like, just trying to undo those things. And it's a constant work. It's a constant, like, Wanjel, it's not that big of a deal. Like, that's not even real. Like, what is ghetto? You know what I'm saying? It's ghetto until it's fashionable and it's on someone else, even though it's coming from a certain people. So just trying to undo all of that and trying to get in the space like, dude, we're all human beings. We all do things a little different, and that is okay. And how I do things isn't the worst of the worst. It's how I do things. And as long as I'm not harming anybody or doing something way out of line, then it's okay. If I want to have fried chicken for dinner, I can have fried chicken for dinner. It's not the end of the world. Maybe not the healthiest choice, but I don't feel like, oh my gosh, I'm just so ghetto and hood. And I don't feel like that. And I've been trying to undo a lot of those thoughts about myself. So I don't know if that's like internal racism that I have towards my own skin, God forbid, but that's my piece.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. No, I don't want to cut you off. I was going to jump in.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, because also my answer is very tied to that as well, is just the realization of internalized racism and just how real that is, how present and prevalent that is. And so myself, my own background, my family's from Nigeria. And so, they immigrated here, and me and all my siblings, we were born in the States. But just in terms of what we see growing up, I think, Wanjel, you pointed this out about, Black, immigrants in general, they come to the US and they kind of look around. There's a very clear social caste system. And it's very clear who's at the top and who's at the bottom. And so as an immigrant coming to the States, thinking, okay, I'm trying to make a life for my family, everyone's doing what they can to not be at the bottom of the social hierarchy, which can present a lot of, internalized racism type thoughts, kind of like what you're saying, Wanjel, this idea of Black is ghetto, and, remember, we're Nigerian first, and all of that type of talk that really splinters the community and really doesn't take into account all the interconnectedness within the Black diaspora. And so that is definitely something that I too had to unlearn and really, appreciate the interconnectedness of all Black people within the diaspora. And also, like you said, Wanjel, give grace. I really had to give grace to my parents of, understanding their mindset when they came to the US and, them just trying a better life for themselves and their family. And it's actually been interesting watching them as they've gotten even more awareness of, like, sure, they're Nigerian, but at the end of the day, in the US, they're Black. And that comes with meanings, and that puts us all in one community. So even as I've started to, I've really come a long way unlearning a lot of the stigmas and even helping educate my parents and my family who first, came to the US with those same stigmas. It's really unfortunate. A lot of the a lot of the images of Black people around the world are not the most positive. So then when my parents came to the US, they're thinking, okay, how do we make sure that we can raise our kids in a way that's positive? Unfortunately, they don't see Black being positive. So it definitely was a learning process for them to realize that, oh, those were stereotypes. And, you know, we are all one Black diaspora community. And what does that mean?
Yes. And Chika, you're very right. And same as Chika, I am Nigerian as well. And coming here, I struggled a little bit because I didn't know what I knew what racism meant, you know, conceptually, but I didn't really experience that. So coming here, I was like, well, I'm African, I'm not Black. But you know, coming here, you quickly realize that we are looked at all the same. So rather than trying to single out yourself and say, well, I'm African and I'm not Black, you have to, and like, you embrace it and work and try to, everything that you do, you try to make sure that you're connecting, not breaking, but trying to like make sure that everything, you're bringing the two together. It doesn't matter if you're in Africa, it doesn't matter if you are in Jamaica, it doesn't matter if you are in Trinidad and Tobago, it don't matter. You are Black. And that's really what it is. And thank you so much, Chika. That was actually really, really good. So Samuel, I'm gonna go to you next. What are some things you would have done to make things right after learning your action had racial connotation?
Give me the question one more time, Ms. Noma, please.
Okay. What are some things you have done to make things right after learning that your actions had racial connotations?
I'm unapologetically me. You know, me and Miss Wanjel got more in common than I thought. My mother grew up Muslim, and my father grew up in a Christian household. I don't think we need to be moving around, tiptoeing around each other. I love that you're Nigerian. I want to know more about Nigeria. When I go to Uganda, they're like, yo, Nigerian cats, they know how to get that money. So we're going to talk some things, you know? And I want to know about, the best thing that I can do is work with everybody. So God has a beautiful way of bringing us all together from wherever we are. You know, I have a good friend from India. I got a good friend from Nepal. And I'm not going to have them make me feel good by oppressing whatever cultures that they have, you know, but they're also not going to have me in a box and me suppress who I am. In the event that I did anything that was that hurt anybody, you know, of course I would say, you know, I apologize if I offended you, pardon me, but I'm also not going to suppress who I am, who my parents and my ancestors have instilled in me to be. You know, it's very important that we all have, in a good way, in a respectful way, pride from where we're from, and pride for God and who we are as God's children. So we just all need to just embrace who we are, you know what I mean, and be like, yo, I have a very good Jewish friend, you know what I mean, and I think that's something I love about Louis Farrakhan, who also sometimes gets put into they judge him for things, but he has friends from all walks of life, but he also still calls you out on who you are. So let's all just be honest with each other. Let's not be politically correct, you know, but let's still be respectful. And when we say something or do something in the wrong, let's be mature and respectful to each other.
That's so true. So what I'm understanding is you're saying be yourself, but be respectful, pretty much. Okay, that makes sense. That is so true. So Kyle, I'm gonna let you give that question a shot as well. What are some things you have done to make things right after learning that your action had racial connotations?
Well, one thing for sure, of course, I've always been here, unfortunately. But I will say too that, of course, no matter where you from, no matter what walk of life you come from, when you come over here and you brown, they consider you black. You know what I mean? No matter what. So I understand that you guys had to worry about, but at the same time, be 100 and be yourself. No matter where you from, if you over there, be yourself. Don't think that you ghetto, because you're not. If you are in here acting ghetto, that's a whole different situation. So if you acting ghetto, you ghetto. But if you're not, you not. Just because everybody you black don't mean you ghetto. You know what I mean? I know a lot of ghetto people. This is ridiculous. I stay away from because it's crazy. But at the same time, you just like Samu, be 100 with yourself. Be you, 100%, no matter what. Be you, and live your life regardless. They don't want to see us win. You know what I mean? But at the same time, you gotta go out there and do you. Make your money. They don't want you to make it, but make it anyway. So every time they say you can't do something, do it. You know what I mean? If they say, nah, that ain't your profession, do it. No matter what. You know what I mean? I'm that type of person. I'm very ambitious. You tell me I can't do something, I'm gonna go out there and do it. Bottom line. And I'm gonna do it better than you, and I'm gonna make more money than you. Just bottom line. You gotta put them in their spot. So I can't do it. Guess what? I'm about to be your boss. You about to work for me. You know what I mean? So that's how I look at everything. But don't ever change who you are as a person to, try to blend in or be somebody that you're not. Be you. Because regardless, black is beautiful regardless. Whether you black, whether you Nigerian, no matter, East African, you're still black and you're beautiful.
That's true, Kyle. That's true. Black is beautiful. Anytime, any race, any ethnicity. If you're black, and black is beautiful, and that is so true, guys. This was a very, very good conversation, and although I wanted to get through all my questions, I am definitely not going to be able to. But I did enjoy the conversation about this topic, and I think instead of looking at it from a negative standpoint and just trying to feed the negative, we have been able to shed some light on how we can take this situation that we find ourselves, right, and turn it into something positive, right. And I really appreciate you guys for responding or bringing your responses that way. So real quick, I'm gonna have each and every one of you leave your closing remarks on how our listeners out there can step up in when they find themselves in this situation. I'm gonna go with this time around. I'm gonna start with Rangel, and then so go ahead, Rangel.
So I guess my closing remark would be to, I guess, get informed and analyze situations. Look for moments that are teachable and moments where you can teach someone else something. I can't tell you how to respond when you're hurt, when you're upset, when you're bothered by something, but I can say is that you can just get more information so that you can better navigate how you're feeling or assess how you're feeling. So yes, education is important. Do your research. I had to do a lot of research about who I am and a lot of soul searching. So definitely get into that. And just look at history and compare it to now and see how we can maneuver, how we can make our spaces better.
Beautiful, beautiful. Kyle, what about you? What are you gonna leave our listeners with?
I'm gonna say main thing is believe in yourself. Don't put yourself in situations that is going to get you in a bad situation as far as police brutality or anything like that. Like Wanda say, do some soul searching. Be the best that you can be the best person, and teach others on things that they can learn and be the best person that they can be, and we can make this country even better. You know what I mean? And but definitely don't change for anybody and be yourself.
I love it. I love it. Semo, what about you? What would you like to leave our listeners with? How can they step up, and how can they go from like the situation we find ourselves?
I would just say, give me one moment. I would say that it's very important that when somebody is trying to take you out of your peace, be diligent in how you're moving and what people are trying to bring into you. And it's very important to convert energy. We're going to be, the book says we're going to face trials, but God has overcome whatever we're going to go through. So it's very important that we keep our peace and that we stand firm in love, because love is more dominant than anything that any opposition could try to bring to us. So when we see these things, be careful about what you're programming your mind, what you're meditating on, and always put God first and seek His word, because His word is flawless, and it's led me to great places, thank God. So one last thing I want to say is, it's a beautiful thing how things that are used against us will help us. So even though the whole construct of race and putting us into a black race is trying to put us in a box of sort, it's a beautiful thing that it's also uniting all the cultures around the world that are quote unquote black. And I really do believe that the blacks in America need to join hands with the blacks in Africa, with the quote unquote blacks in the islands, because we all are one race and we are no way, shape, or form a minority. You understand? So and I would love for you guys, I would love to join this platform again, Ms. Noma. I do appreciate it. And you guys can catch me at Samu Christ on Instagram, banditmusica.com. God bless. Thank you.
Beautiful. Chika, what about yourself? I would love to hear you.
Yeah, so mine will be almost like a bit of a summary of everyone else. I'll try to keep it short. So I would say, first, get informed, learn your history, our true history. A lot of us were dipped from our true, Black history, African-American history. So let's get informed, learn the history, and learn why we're kind of in this situation we're even in today. And I would say, two, is really being reflective and mindful of our own mindset and really asking ourselves, what are some beliefs that we are holding deep within inside of us that are holding ourselves back? And what are the beliefs or the false narratives that we've been telling ourselves that is making us believe that we are inferior, that we are lesser than? So let's take note of what these beliefs are, so then we can start the work of unlearning them and setting them and really have that confidence and empowerment, so that, as people are trying to figure out, how to dismantle racism, we're more focused on, well, how do I be the best that I am? So regardless of what social structures are in place, I know that no one can hold me down, no one can hold me back, and I can still succeed.
That is beautiful. So really, guys, the three main, or should I say the four main things that I got is be authentic, educate yourself, change your mindset, and just surround yourself with, good people, like people that really have your best interest at heart, and grow from there. Guys, I'd like to thank each and every one of you. And I know that today is July 4th. I want you to go out there and enjoy yourself. Thank you so much for being on my show. I want to give a shout out to my sister Keeper for the graphics, all the behind the coordination, everything, Nadia. I really thank you. And, I appreciate everything that you're doing in the community. With that being said, guys, thank you so much and have a blessed day.